honorable and distinguished professors, friends. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude and sincere thanks to organizer for giving me this opportunity. Today, I'll briefly go around the globe and try to project the global challenges, or you may call it global crisis. And I will then try to come up with some ideas. What is the source of these global challenges and how the noetic sciences, the yogic sciences need to be projected, need to be linked in order to address the global crisis. So myself, I have been working around international environment and development studies. I win my bread and butter from there. I am not a professor of psychology, I am not a professor of consciousness study or comparative religion. So please bear in the mind that whatever I present, that are work done by others with my creative interpretations. And I will also present something that we are doing now already and something that we are planning to do. Next please. So what is global challenges? You all know, every day you see in the media, this world is undergoing multiple of crises. You may call it environmental crisis, there are climate change crisis, global financial crisis, global food crisis, global water crisis, full of crisis. So a lot of science is being produced around and about this crisis. And if you look at the statistics today, almost 1 million people in this world go hungry in their bed, whereas 1.5 billion people are overweighted. 1 billion people are very hungry, having abject poverty, and 1.5 billion people overweighted are obese. You want simultaneous translation? You can do that.
Suočava, znači kriza klime, financijska kriza, kriza sa izvorima hrane, energije, vode i raznih konflikti. Više od bilijuna gladnih ljudi danas živi u svetu prema podacima Svetske zdravstvene organizacije i susrećemo se sa promjenama u klimi i u okruženju. Veliki kontrasti postoje, tako da pored 1 biliona gladnih ljudi mi imamo preko 1,5 bilion ljudi prekomerne težine.
Before I came to Belgrade, I was in Africa. Norwegian are supporting very many development projects in Africa. And as you know that last year it was a worst drought in 60 years. Almost 12 point some million people were under the famine. And even this problem is there everywhere in the world. I want to give an example of Balkan. We are having projects in Balkan since 2007, and I would like to acknowledge my professor friend, Professor Slaven Pradanovic. Could you please stand up? And Professor Maya from University of Belgrade and University of Novi Sad. And we know that this year it was also a worse drought here. This maize you can see in the backside, which makes a basis for food. Almost 80% yield of this maize is gone because of drought this year. And you can see my professor friend there who is showing the quality of maize here. So this is how is the situation.
Yes, of course. Pored iskustva u afričkim zemljama koje je profesor video sa sušom i gladi, ima iskustva iz naše zemlje, predstavio svoje saradnike iz naših naučnih institucija i pokazuje ovde slajdove koji ilustruju štete koje je na kukuruzu ovogodišnja suša napravila.
Now, human being is the most complex and most dangerous creation, I think. Human being can live in denial, okay? For example,
čovjek je najkomplikovanije biće koje danas postoji i naročito zbog svoje sposobnosti da odriče stvarnost, da ne priznaje ono što je istina.
We scientists, if you see what is going on, we understand that climate change is real, but very many people around the world, they live in some kind of denial. Okay?
Mnogo ljudi odriče stvarnost i ne ume da prizna ono što je realnost.
For example, the oil company says, these scientists are just making a story, there is no climate change.
Naftne kompanije ne priznaju nalaze naučnika da zaista smo svedoci klimatskih promjena.
That is called literal kind of denial.
Da, to je jedan manji primjer štete.
Other have an interpretive kind of denial. For example, they say that okay, maybe scientists are correct about the climate change, but they say it's not because of we have been so much greedy, but it's because maybe change in solar radiation or orbital movement of the Earth.
Neki čak i priznaju da se promjene dešavaju, ali ne zbog njihove aktivnosti, već zbog promjena u sunčanom sistemu.
Yeah. Okay. Other denials are something called implicatory denials, like very many of us. We know that it's a problem, but we cannot change my lifestyle. I cannot be a different person because I am brought up that way.
Sljedeći način odbijanja je da smo mi negdje svesni da činimo određene greške, ali jednostavno nismo sposobni da promenimo svoj životni stil, način života.
But if you deny the truth, you are going to suffer.
Ali ako odbijate da priznate istinu, svakako ćete patiti.
So definitely we are living in the world of unsustainability. This world, way it is now, the path of development that has taken is not sustainable.
Definitivno smo došli do trenutka kada živimo u neodrživom okruženju.
Let me take you a little bit around the world. This is where we live. This is a small earth. And if you divide the area, each of us in this planet will have around 2 hectares of land.
Ako podelimo ukupnu površinu ove naše planete, svako bi dobio 2 hektara.
And land is fixed, you cannot stretch it.
Da, a zemlja je definitivno definisana, ne možemo je proširiti nikako.
But what about the mouth which need food?
Ali šta sa količinom hrane koja je potrebna?
If you see the same world population-wise, it looks like this. A lot of people in this part of the world, Africa, China and so on.
Mnoge ovdje se vidi koja je to neravnomerna raspodjela, znači u zemljama Afrike i Azije.
So people are here, okay? But where is the money? Money is here in this part of the world.
Ovdje nasuprot tome prikazana raspodjela novca i sredstava na sasvim drugom kraju planete.
Western Europe, North America, Japan, Korea and so on.
Zapadna Evropa, Severna Amerika, Japan, Koreja.
So 19 to 20% of people living in this Western world are consuming 80% of the world resources.
20% ljudi koji živi u ovom delu sveta koristi 80% svetskih resursa prirodnih.
Let's continue the story. For example, in order to be rich, there are a number of ways, but people are also producing a lot of weapons of destructions. There are inter and intra-state war going on in this world.
Ljudi danas u cilju da povećaju svoje bogatstvo proizvode velike količine oružja.
And these weapons are produced in this part of the so-called materially rich part of the world. But where are the people being killed in war? It's not here where they produce the weapon, but it's here.
Ali na sasvim drugom kraju planete se upotrebljava to oružje tamo gdje se ljudi ubijaju.
You can continue this story. For example, people making a lot of money, then you have some power to buy the thing. People are drinking a lot of alcohol. I know Balkan is not an exception. This part of the world, as you see, people drink a lot of alcohol. This is how the statistics shows.
Da, prema statistikama Balkan jeste jedno područje gdje se koristi veće količine alkohola.
If you are very rich in your mind, you will consume less alcohol.
Ukoliko ste bogati, ako smatrate da ste bogati, vi konzumirate alkohol.
People commit suicide. This is one example of where the suicide takes place. Okay, and even in this so-called materially rich western part of the world, this is statistics from Spain. People, because of separation and divorce, are committing more and more suicide. This is one example from the Spain.
Ovo je primjer za Španiju gdje se broj samoubistva povećava iako je standard bolji.
Now, as I said, I am professor of international environment and development studies. We do a lot of work around the food production, food security and international environmental studies.
Profesor se bavi environmental study, znači ukupno bi se to moglo prevesti kao nauka o okruženju, a suštinski bavi se svim prirodnim resursima, hrane, vode, vazduha, zemljišta.
This is the hunger map of the world.
Ovo je mapa gladi sveta.
And if you look at what happens when it comes to number of undernourished people in the world, very many Western countries are supporting so-called developing countries for increasing food production, but when suddenly the food prices goes up, then farmer cannot buy it. Because of that, in 2008, almost 44 million people went back to their poverties.
Na ovom grafiku pokazuje se kretanje one populacije neuhranjenih ljudi. Znači vidimo kako raste taj broj kontinuirano.
Now, who is affected by hunger really? Very big dilemma. Those who are affected by hunger in this world are not those people who lives in the city and can afford it. Those people who produce food, like a small farmer, they are the one who produce food and they are the one who are hungry.
Danas u svetu nisu gladni oni ljudi koji žive u gradovima, već upravo oni mali proizvođači u ruralnim sredinama koji proizvode hranu, a zapravo nemaju dovoljno za sebe.
So you can see the dilemma. Now, myself, together with Professor Slaven groups, Savo groups, and from the University of Belgrade, and we have had project in the Western Balkans since 2006, giving global environmental change, and we spend a lot of money and resources to understand the mechanism of global problem.
Profesor je sa našim saradnicima radio od 2006. na projektu promjena u okruženju, gdje su pokušali da objasne ceo ciklus promjena koji se dešava. To je prikazano na ovom slajdu.
But mechanism of problem is not source of problem.
Ali mehanizam problema nije izvor samog problema.
So, another example here that we in the Western world produce a lot of science to understand these big global challenges and what drives them, the drivers, and what are the consequences of these problems.
Naučna javnost je koncentrisana na objašnjenje svih tih promjena, porekla i načina rešavanja.
I will not describe this because I can talk day and night around it, but the most important thing I wanted to tell you is that the complicating challenge for this is something called consumerism, consuming.
Glavni problem je konzumerizam, odnosno to potrošačko društvo.
When I came to Norway in 1987 from Nepal,
Kada je profesor iz Nepala došao u Norvešku 1997. godine,
average Norwegian were producing around 200 kg of waste because what you consume it go to waste basket. Now in my lifetime in 25 years in Norway, it has almost tripled.
da trostruko je povećana proizvodnja u roku od 25 godina koliko je profesor boravio u Norveškoj.
So with this habit of consumerism, having more and more, this world will not sustain.
Potrošačko društvo nameće sistem proizvodnje sve više i više, što nije održivo.
You all know that mobile technology, just one example of consumerism here, okay? We are now more and more Samsung and whatnot, so many mobile technology everywhere.
Ovo su primjeri potrošačkog društva gdje se stalno proizvode novi modeli i svako poželi da ima jedan od njih.
Last week I was in Africa and even some young boys didn't have enough food but they wanted to have a mobile phone.
Da, u Africi prošle nedelje profesor je bio svedok da neki mali dečaci nemaju šta da jedu, ali svaki od njih je imao mali mobilni telefon.
And this is how the demand for mobile phones, mobile technologies is increasing in India and China.
Da, evo porast mobilne tehnologije u Indiji i Kini.
This is one of my friend from Malawi that I just took this photo last week. If you look at here, he has the tablet here, one mobile phone, another mobile phone. And we all were there to address the poverty of people.
Da, ovo je prijatelj iz Afrike koji ima tablet, računar i dva mobilna telefona, a ideja je bila da se rešavaju globalni problemi.
So I am also a part of that hypocrisy.
Da.
And this was a 5-star hotel.
Da, svi smo na neki način deo tog licemerja.
Now, some people it has become a fashion, as you can see. Not only those people, even the sadhus and so-called enlightened people in India are also using very extensively this kind of technology.
Da, ovdje vrlo široko rasprostranjena mobilna tehnologija u Indiji.
Now the yoga philosophy, Upanishad, Vedanta, all are now they are using also some sort of this kind of technology. We have become slave of this.
Da, svi smo postali robovi toga.
You see, Dhammapada is another kind of Buddhist doctrine. Attahi atano natho, attahi atano gati. You are the 100% reason of your suffering and you are the 100% reason of your happiness. So this has been just...
Da, ovo je paradoks, da, jedan budistički sveštenik.
Now, you know that our children from the very early stage, they are exposed to this kind of technology and they have learned to interact with the machine, not with their grandmother, grandfather. So this is how the trend is.
Djeca su od najmanjeg uzrasta izložena toj tehnologiji i uče da interaguju sa mašinama, a ne sa živim bićima.
You must be knowing, not long ago, one Chinese boy sold his kidney to buy an iPad. That was in the media.
Jedan dečak u Kini je prodao sopstveni bubreg da bi kupio iPod u Kini.
So this is where our so-called civilization is going.
Ovo sve ilustruje gde naš svet zapravo ide.
And we know that some science is growing that if you are more and more exposed to this kind of low frequency radio waves, it will give problem and you have a medical people here and you know better than I do it. But remember one thing, in 50s when people were smoking, lot of smoking, and then some NGO said smoking is bad for health. Then the tobacco company asked them, where is the evidence? But now we have evidence that smoking is bad and it is written in the cigarette also. But everybody, when they become habituated, is smoking and smoking.
Današnji svet je izložen svim ovim tehnologijama i neprekidno jednoj specifičnoj frekvenciji, međutim još uvek se na to ne reaguje, a slična stvar je bila i sa konzumiranjem cigareta u 50. godinama. Neki naučnici su objavili da je to štetno, međutim kompanije su zahtevale dokaz tek sada kad imamo dokaz, međutim vreme je toliko učinilo i navika je toliko učinila da i pored dokaza ljudi nastavljaju da puše.
So same thing will happen to all this technology that we are exposed to. This violates a very Vedic and yogic wisdom which is called Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. The wise person will try to understand the problem that has not come yet. He will understand, okay, it's coming because we are doing so many things now, and try to control, try to mitigate that now.
Ova situacija je pravi trenutak da se upotrebi jogističko znanje i mudrost, jer mudar čovek će prepoznati problem pre nego što se on desio. Znači, na nama je da predupredimo određenim koracima pre nego što dođe do te faze.
So I was working in Ethiopia many years, 8 years before, and we know a lot of theory about poverty, okay? Many people are living in abject poverty that you cannot imagine, more than 1.2 billion people. And I took this photo again 10 days ago in Malawi. This girl, which is around 8 years old, she has to work from morning to evening.
Ova deca, znači u Etiopiji rade cijelog dana, sakupljaju ovu travu.
You see, almost 29,000 children under the age of 5 die each day. That means when I started this lecture in front of you, many children has died around the world because of hunger.
Ovo je zapanjujući podatak da 29 miliona dece ispod 5 godina svakodnevno umire zbog gladi.
These are some faces of famine and starvation from Ethiopia, where I was working.
Ovo su slike iz Etiopije.
They are sharing the carcass because there was famine.
Ovo je neki oskudici gladi jedino.
The lady is looking for some food in the garbage to feed her children, and if she don't get it, the children will die.
Traži u đubrištu, ova majka traži hranu da bi nahranila decu, jer ukoliko ne nađe, ona će umreti.
In this photo, the mother is already dead here, and the boy is still alive. This little boy want to get milk from her dead mother.
Na ovoj slici majka je već mrtva, a ovaj mali dečak je još uvek živ i očekuje da će dobiti mleko.
Okay, there are war, conflicts. When we are enjoying this conference here, more than 35 major war are going on at this time right now.
Više od...
When we are enjoying our conference here in a very peaceful, very nice room here, more than 35 inter and intra-state wars are going on around.
Trenutno dok mi uživamo u ovim ovdje prijatnim uslovima, više od 35 ratova se vodi u ovom trenutku.
So all this problem has been addressed in the higher education, in the university, but just describing the mechanism of problem, but we do not know the source. We don't address the source of problem which lies inside us.
Svi ovi problemi se izučavaju na univerzitetima i na visokom nivou, ali radi se samo na mehanizmima, a niko ne dolazi do suštine, odnosno do izvora problema koji je zapravo u nama.
There is a lot of science around. I will not go through it, this one, but remember, if we continue our way of thinking, our lifestyle and business as usual scenario, by 2080, 40% of biodiversity will be finished from this planet.
Ukoliko se ne promeni životni scenario, znači biznis, poslovanje i uopšte sve ono čemu se svet stremi, na ovom grafiku vidi se da do 2080. ćemo se suočiti sa ogromnim klimatskim promjenama.
And nothing to enjoy for children and grandchildren.
I skoro ništa neće ostati za našu decu i unučiće.
This is a scientific projection, is fact for me.
Ovo je realna prognoza naučnika.
Now we are trying to promote a good development, promoting global health, individual health, but the situations are not very good. For example, people talks about the Millennium Development Goal. that is to reduce poverty and hunger by half by 2015. But even a country like India is not making a good progress in that front.
Ovdje su prikazane neki milenijumski ciljevi koje se postavljaju od strane svetskih organizacija da se do 2015. znači smanji potrošnja i da se smanji glad i ovdje su izlistane zemlje koje su na različitom stupnju u tom smislu. Neki kao Indija nemaju nikakvog napretka.
Myself, Professor Savin, Slavo and many other professors teach about very many interesting ideas in university.
Profesor Savin zapravo predaje o mnogim interesantnim idejama na ovu temu.
But these are very difficult to realize in reality.
Ali u praksi se one jako teško realizuju.
Again, these are different kind of approach we talk about. We try to educate to our graduate. But these are also very interesting idea, and it doesn't seem that in the ground reality it is so effective.
Ovo su samo neki od pristupa s kojima se pokušava, radi se sa studentima da se na različite načine pristupi problemu.
So I myself working in South Asia, Africa, West, anywhere in the world, my personal interpretation is that my hope, personal hope, lies on behavioral change through any kind of wisdom tradition, for example, yogic wisdom tradition that requires your personal transformation. You should be less demanding, less greedy. You have to change your lifestyle.
Na osnovu svog dugogodišnjeg iskustva profesor sažima svoje lično viđenje da on zapravo polaže nade u promjenama ponašanja.
So, to address the global challenges, yogic science could offer tools to boost our emotional balance and creativity and develop a kind of wide, a holistic mental attitude.
Yoga nam nudi načine da uspostavimo svoju emocionalnu ravnotežu i kreativnost i da se razvijamo na mentalnom planu.
Very many people are medical doctor here working in the well-being, and this is how your model function. This poor human being have a lot of burden from environment. He has so many memory from the past, very many genetic vulnerability, and very many doctors are just treating the symptoms of the diseases.
Ovdje je prikazano sa medicinskog aspekta kako kad čovjek oboli, znači tretira se samo sa aspekta bolesti, a ovdje vidimo da sa mnogih još utjecaja dolazi do tog disbalansa.
And then I work in this part of science.
Profesor je radio znači, na gubitku diverziteta, zemljišta i klimatskim promjenama.
So this poor human being which is suffering here, this environmental stressor come from here, so we have to establish this linkage.
I uspostavlja se veza da svi ovi stresni faktori deluju na čoveka.
And the people who are preaching yoga, who are practicing yoga, they talk about the conduct, food, thoughts, all this trilogy of human health.
Ova trilogija jeste osnova ljudskog zdravlja, a ona leži u osnovi joge.
And then what we need in future is to produce the human capacity, the people who have understanding of this linkage here.
I naše je da radimo na tome da ljudi, na ljudskim kapacitetima da se što bolje objasni ova veza.
So that's where I want to dedicate my life.
To je ono čemu profesor želi da posveti svoj čitav život.
You know, in yoga philosophy you have different layer of mind. Okay, panchakosha.
Prema jogističkoj filozofiji imamo različite nivoe uma.
And then this understanding of self, yourself, is what is offered by yogic science. That is a root of everything, the source.
Izvor, odnosno koren svega je naše razumevanje sopstva.
This root will give you the wisdom.
Ovaj koren nam daje mudrost.
And based on this wisdom, if you do the management of change, environmental change, global change, all the crises,
A na osnovu te mudrosti mi možemo da se uhvatimo u koštac sa promenama koje se dešavaju u okruženju.
Then you really addressing the source of problem.
I onda zaista se gađa pravo u centar problema.
Today science is just talking about on the surface. Growing around neuroplasticity, some of the medical doctors will tell you more about it, and also the stress management kind of thing. So these kind of curricula are already there in the University of Sri Lanka and Nepal because of our effort.
Ovakav tip projekata već se vodi u Šri Lanki i Nepalu.
And we are also now planning to develop a new courses that focus on behavioral change or personal transformation to address the climate change problem.
I dalji koraci su da se nastavi, da se pomera fokus ka promjenama ponašanja i ličnoj transformaciji da bi se radilo na klimatskim promjenama.
So finally, my friend, these are some examples. Already some in the university there are course on spiritual ecology, yoga and ecology in another university. This is about another around climate change sustainability and psychology, problem of psychology, and also different kind of courses are already developed and being implemented in different universities around the world.
Ovdje su prikazani nekoliko kurseva koji se vode sa istom tom temom gdje se povezuje stres, yoga, ekologija i okruženje.
In order to do that we have to collaborate and cooperate.
I zaključak je da sve više moramo da sarađujemo.
So finally I would just like to end telling that learning is a wisdom from Confucius. Learning should be for about being, understanding your real being, not about having more and more money.
I ovdje profesor ističe Konfučijevu misao da učenje treba da se koncentriše na biti, a ne na imati.
Remember, if we continue the way we are heading, we'll end up that way.
Ako nastavimo na ovaj način, završit ćemo ovako kako je prikazano na slici.
And the wisdom, the perennial philosophy and yoga tradition can change this path of development in one way or other.
Yoga tradicija i mudrost koja iz nje proističe može da promeni ovu šemu.
And if we understand this, I'm also trying to learn from it. I'm also a student of it.
I ja sebe smatram učenikom.
Last even 10 days ago in Malawi, I tried to, but you see that I'm not that perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to learn from you. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Why is it so important to do a lot of yoga? Why is it so important to practice yoga in our life?
Because whole world is suffering now. There are different kinds of suffering. Suffering induced by the changes, by the environmental changes, financial crisis, global water crisis, global food crisis. So in this world where maintain the balance of their mind, people need to be resilient. People need to understand reality in a bigger perspective. Therefore, the very perennial philosophy, for example yoga, how to understand reality and this changing reality by uniting with the higher existence. That is what is yoga.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
as I said, the first effect goes to your mind. You become more calm, more happy, and also your intellect becomes clearer. You know better what to do, what not to do, how to put your priorities.